Tonight is not a normal night. This is not just another moment before sleep. You did not arrive here by accident. Something has been happening around you, pressure you could not explain, opposition you did not provoke, a battle you never asked to fight. Someone rose against you without cause. Words were spoken behind your back. Plans were formed in silence. Accusations were made without truth. You felt the weight, but not the reason. You tried to ignore it and move on. But the attack followed you into the night. This is not imagination. This is not weakness. This is not sensitivity. This is spiritual opposition. And the Bible speaks clearly about moments like this. God never ignores unjust battles. He never turns away from the innocent. Psalm 35 was written for nights like this, nights when injustice feels louder than peace, when enemies mock and celebrate too early, when lies travel faster than truth, when silence feels heavier than words, when your heart asks if God is watching, and heaven answers without delay. Psalm 35 is not a gentle prayer. It is not poetic comfort. It is not passive faith. It is a legal summons, a call that brings God into the battlefield, a declaration that injustice will be judged, a signal that God will stand and respond. This psalm does not ask God to observe. It asks him to act, to rise, to contend, to fight those who fight you, to confront those who attacked without reason, to defend what belongs to him. Tonight, Psalm 35 becomes your voice. A voice that speaks when you were silenced, a voice that answers false accusations, a voice that exposes hidden traps, a voice that calls for divine justice, not revenge, but righteousness, not hatred, but truth. God sees every word spoken against you. He sees every plan formed in darkness. He sees every smile hiding bad intentions. He sees the traps you never noticed. He sees the pressure placed on your life. And he does not stay silent. He records everything. Tonight, heaven responds, not slowly, not weakly, not uncertainly, but with authority, with judgment, with protection. If you stay until the end of this prayer, God will fight for you while you sleep. What you could not confront, he will. What you could not expose, he will. What you could not stop, he will. This battle will not consume your strength, because it will no longer be yours. You are not alone in this night. You are not defenseless. You are not forgotten. God has seen the injustice. He has heard the accusations. He has marked the moment. And now he rises. Stay here. Do not leave this prayer. Let Psalm 35 speak on your behalf. Let God step into your battle. Let justice move while you rest. Let peace come after victory, because tonight God will fight for you. You did not wake up one day wanting conflict. You did not plan to enter a battle. You were simply living your life, trying to do what was right, trying to walk in peace, trying to move forward quietly, but the enemy chose otherwise. The attack did not come with warning. It came through words, through looks, through silence, through actions that did not make sense. You felt resistance where there should have been peace, pressure where there should have been support. Psalm 35 speaks clearly about this moment. It talks about being attacked without cause, about being targeted for no reason, about enemies who rise without justification, about people who decide to fight you unfairly, not because of what you did, but because of who you are. Some attacks are not physical, they are emotional, they are spiritual. They come through false accusations, through twisted stories, through lies spoken quietly, through words meant to damage your name. You tried to ignore it. You tried to stay silent. You tried to take the higher road. You hoped it would stop on its own. But instead, it grew stronger. Because silence is often mistaken for weakness, and patience is misread as surrender. Psalm 35 reveals something important. God sees attacks that others do not see. He sees traps set in secret. He sees nets hidden in the dark. He sees plans formed behind closed doors. He sees intentions masked by smiles. Nothing escapes his sight. The enemy assumed you were alone. They assumed no one would defend you. They assumed heaven was silent. They assumed delay meant permission. They assumed God was distant. They assumed wrong, very wrong. Being attacked without cause hurts deeply. It creates confusion. It brings sleepless nights. It raises questions in your heart. You begin to ask why. You wonder what you did wrong. Psalm 35 answers that question clearly. You are not being attacked because you failed. You are not being attacked because you sinned. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being attacked because something in you threatens darkness. Because your presence exposes what others hide. Because your obedience disturbs the enemy. Because your life carries light. Psalm 35 gives language to your pain. It puts words to what you could not explain. It validates what you felt but could not prove. It confirms that God recognizes unjust attacks. It shows that heaven records every injustice. And it declares that silence will not last forever. God will respond. Tonight, God acknowledges the battle you did not choose. He acknowledges the pressure you carried alone. He acknowledges the tears you hid. He acknowledges the strength it took to keep going. He acknowledges every moment you stayed quiet. And now, he prepares to speak. Not softly, but with authority. This phase is important because God never judges a battle blindly. He first exposes the injustice. He first identifies the attacker. He first reveals the cause or the lack of it. And once that truth is established, divine justice is released. Now the prayer changes direction. The silence ends. The waiting stops. Psalm 35 does not ask for explanations. It asks for action. It calls God directly into the battle, not as a spectator, but as a defender. The first words of Psalm 35 are strong. They do not whisper. They do not hesitate. They speak with urgency. They speak with clarity. They speak with authority. They summon heaven to respond. Plead my cause, O Lord. This is legal language. It is the cry of someone wronged, someone attacked without reason, someone who knows God is just, someone who trusts divine judgment, someone who refuses to fight alone. To contend means to step into conflict. It means to confront directly. It means to take a stand. The psalmist is saying, God, enter this situation. Face those who face me. Fight those who fight me. This verse teaches us something powerful. God does not avoid confrontation when justice is required. He does not ignore unfair battles. He does not ask the innocent to endure forever when the attack is unjust. When the cause is false, God responds with action. Psalm 35 then goes further. It says God takes hold of shield and buckler. This is not symbolic language only. It is a picture of readiness, of protection raised, of defense activated, of God standing in front of you. A shield blocks what was meant to harm. It absorbs the impact. It stops the blow before it reaches the body. Tonight, this means every accusation is intercepted. Every plan aimed at you is blocked. Every word sent to wound you is stopped. God positions himself between you and the enemy. Psalm 35 does not describe a distant God. It describes a present God, a God who rises, a God who stands, a God who moves toward the conflict. He does not send help from afar. He comes himself. Then the psalm says, God draws out the spear. This is no longer defense alone. This is interception. This is pursuit stopped. This is pressure broken. The enemy was chasing. God steps in and says no more. Stop the way against them that persecute me. These words are clear. The enemy's path is blocked. Their progress is interrupted. Their momentum is broken. Their pursuit is halted. God places himself in their way. Then God speaks directly to the soul. I am thy salvation. Not a strategy, not a plan, not a delay. God himself becomes the answer. God himself becomes the rescue. This phase marks a turning point. The battle is no longer theoretical. Heaven has been summoned. God has risen. Defense is active. Pursuit is stopped. And the war has officially begun. Now, the battle becomes visible. What was hidden begins to surface. What was whispered loses power. Psalm 35 moves from defense to confrontation. God does not only block attacks, he turns toward the enemy, and judgment begins to move. Let them be confounded and put to shame. This is not cruelty, this is correction. Those who planned harm are exposed. Those who laughed quietly are confronted. Those who acted in darkness face the light. Shame begins to change sides. The enemy relied on confusion. Now confusion enters their camp. They relied on secrecy. Now secrecy is removed. They relied on confidence. Now confidence collapses. God dismantles their inner structure. Psalm 35 does not ask God to weaken the enemy slowly. It asks for immediate disruption. Let them be turned back. Their progress is reversed. Their advance is cancelled. Their steps no longer lead forward. God forces retreat. Let them be as chaff before the wind. This is total loss of stability. Chaff has no weight, no direction, no resistance. What stood firm against you becomes powerless. God removes their footing. The psalm then releases angelic enforcement. Let the angel of the Lord chase them. This is not symbolic comfort. This is spiritual authority in motion. Angels execute divine judgment. Resistance breaks under heavenly command. The enemy scatters. Darkness was their advantage. Now darkness turns against them. Let their way be dark and slippery. They lose clarity. They lose direction. They lose timing. Every step becomes uncertain. What the enemy planned carefully now fails suddenly. They stumble over their own schemes. They slide where they expected control. They fall where they expected victory. God removes coordination. God removes precision. God removes peace from their plans. For without cause they hid their net. This verse returns to the heart of injustice. They planned harm without reason. They set traps without justification. They targeted you unfairly. God takes this personally. Justice accelerates. Let destruction come upon him unawares. This is divine surprise. The enemy does not see it coming. They do not prepare for it. They do not escape it. Their own net becomes their downfall. Their trap closes on themselves. Psalm 35 declares full reversal. What was meant to capture you fails. What was meant to destroy you collapses. What was meant to silence you backfires. God turns strategy against strategist, weapon against weapon maker, plot against plotter. This is the peak of warfare. The enemy is no longer advancing. They are no longer speaking. They are no longer confident. Heaven has intervened decisively. The outcome is no longer uncertain. God has taken control of the battle. Now the noise begins to fade. The shouting loses strength. The accusations weaken. Psalm 35 moves from pursuit to control. God does not only defeat the enemy, he silences them, and he secures what belongs to you. How long, O Lord? The psalm asks. This is the cry of exhaustion, the cry of someone who endured long enough. God answers that cry with timing, not delay, not avoidance, but decisive intervention. Rescue my soul from their destructions. This is deeper than protection. This is restoration. God does not only stop the attack, he repairs the damage. He lifts what was pressed down. He restores what was shaken. The psalm exposes false witnesses, people who spoke lies confidently, who accused without truth, who twisted facts to harm you. God addresses them directly. He does not negotiate with falsehood. He shuts it down. They rewarded me evil for good. This verse carries deep injustice. You gave kindness. They gave harm. You showed mercy. They returned betrayal. God remembers every exchange. Psalm 35 reveals something holy. God measures intent. He weighs actions. He records motivations. Evil does not disappear unnoticed. Good is never forgotten. Justice balances the scales. The enemy rejoiced at your pain. They gathered themselves together. They celebrated your struggle, but their joy was premature. God interrupts their celebration. He removes their advantage. He turns their laughter into silence. They mocked and gnashed their teeth. Mockery is a sign of arrogance. It reveals confidence without authority. God responds to mockery firmly. He does not argue. He does not explain. He ends it. Let them not rejoice over me. This is territorial language. God establishes boundaries. The enemy is told where they may not go. They lose access. They lose permission. They lose influence. Psalm 35 says they speak not peace. They devise deceit. They plan disturbance for the quiet. God defends peaceful lives aggressively. He protects those who sought no war. He secures their ground. He restores calm where chaos tried to enter. God judges righteously, not emotionally, not impulsively, not unfairly. His judgment is precise, measured, final. This phase seals the territory. The enemy is silenced. Their voices lose authority. Their influence is removed. Your life is secured. Your boundaries are reinforced, and the ground beneath you becomes stable again. Now the atmosphere begins to change. The tension eases. The pressure releases. The battle sounds grow distant. Psalm 35 shifts the focus from the enemy to the soul that is finally safe. My soul shall be joyful in the Lord. Joy here is not excitement. It is relief. It is safety after danger. It is the calm that comes after protection. It is the peace of knowing God intervened. It is rest earned through divine defense. This joy is quiet. It does not shout. It settles gently in the heart. It replaces anxiety. It dissolves fear. It softens the body. It prepares you for rest. Psalm 35 reminds us of something powerful. Victory does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks like sleep, like a calm breath, like a mind no longer racing, like a heart no longer on guard. God gives peace after the battle. All my bones shall say, Lord, who is like you? This is deep gratitude, gratitude that reaches the body, gratitude that relaxes muscles, gratitude that releases tension, gratitude that restores strength. God heals what stress damaged. When God fights for you, your body no longer needs to stay alert. Your mind no longer needs to replay conversations. Your heart no longer needs to defend itself. You are allowed to rest, because heaven is awake and God stands watch over you. Rest is not surrender. Rest is trust. Rest says the battle is finished. Rest says the threat is gone. Rest says God has taken control. Rest says I am no longer responsible. God carries the outcome now. Psalm 35 declares prosperity for the servant of the Lord. Not chaos, not loss, not fear. God delights in your peace. He delights in your safety. He delights in your restoration. As you prepare to sleep, God continues to guard your life. Your home is watched. Your family is covered. Your path is protected. Nothing crosses the boundary He set. No enemy returns tonight. While your eyes close, God's authority remains active. No plot reforms, no word regains power, no accusation resurrects. What was silenced stays silent. What was stopped stays stopped. This is the kind of sleep God gives, not restless, not fearful, not interrupted, but covered, protected, surrounded by His presence. So now, rest. Let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts settle. Let your body relax. God has fought for you. God is still guarding you, and your night is safe in His hands. The night did not end in silence. It ended in victory. While you rested, God worked. While you slept, heaven moved. Psalm 35 does not end in fear. It ends in restoration. It ends in praise after deliverance. When morning comes, something is different. Not because you fought harder, not because you defended yourself, but because God intervened. The weight you carried feels lighter. The tension no longer grips your chest. Peace replaces vigilance. Let them shout for joy who favor my righteous cause. This is public restoration. God does not only defend in secret, he vindicates openly. What was questioned is clarified. What was attacked is honored. What was doubted is affirmed. Restoration is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like dignity returning, like respect being restored, like truth standing on its own. God does not need to explain himself. He simply restores order, and truth rises naturally. Psalm 35 declares that God delights in the prosperity of his servant. This is not excess. This is balance. This is peace. This is life returning to normal. Where stress once ruled, calm returns. Where fear lived, confidence grows. Your enemies are no longer the focus. They are no longer the subject. They no longer control the narrative. God shifts the attention back to you, to your life, to your calling, to your future. The psalm ends with continual praise, not forced praise, not desperate praise, but grateful praise. Praise that flows from relief. Praise that comes from safety. Praise born from answered prayer. This is how God closes unjust battles. He restores your voice. He restores your confidence. He restores your stability. You do not walk forward wounded. You walk forward strengthened, marked by divine intervention. What tried to break you failed. What tried to stop you collapsed. What tried to shame you was exposed. God did not allow injustice to win. He did not allow lies to stand. He did not allow the enemy to finish the story. He took control of the ending. Mourning represents a new chapter, not forgetting what happened, but no longer being defined by it. The night was necessary, the battle was real, but it did not have the final word. God did. As you rise covered, not cautious, not fearful, but confident. God has gone before you. God stands behind you, and God surrounds you. Psalm 35 ends with praise because victory is complete. Justice has spoken. The enemy has been silenced. Your life has been restored. And now you move forward in peace. Not because the enemy is strong, but because God is greater. Tonight, this prayer has been completed, not just spoken, not just heard, but released. Psalm 35 has been declared, justice has been summoned, and heaven has responded. What was hidden has been exposed. What was unjust has been addressed. What was heavy has been lifted. God did not ignore your situation. He did not delay without purpose. He did not remain distant. He stepped into your battle. This night marks a turning point. Not because circumstances changed instantly, but because authority shifted. The enemy lost access, the pressure lost control, the lies lost power. God took over what you could not handle. Now we seal this prayer. Every word spoken stands. Every declaration remains active. No reversal, no retaliation, no return of the attack. What God closed stays closed. I declare peace over your mind, rest over your body, protection over your home, covering over your family, stability over your path, clarity over your future, and strength over your spirit. Tonight, you sleep without fear, without replaying conversations, without anticipating attacks, without guarding yourself, because God is guarding you. His presence surrounds you. His authority stands watch. Nothing that rose against you will follow you into tomorrow. Nothing spoken against you will define you. Nothing planned against you will prosper. The night has ended in victory, and the morning will reflect it. God has already gone ahead of you. Your path is secure. As you rest, trust this truth. God does not fight halfway. He does not leave battles unfinished. He does not abandon the innocent. He completes what he starts, and he remains faithful through the night. You are safe in his hands. If this prayer spoke to your situation, do not let this moment pass quietly. Faith grows when it is acknowledged. Heaven responds when belief is expressed. You are not alone here. This is a place of agreement, a place of spiritual covering. Subscribe to receive God's protection every night. Each prayer is released with purpose. Each psalm is declared with authority. This channel exists to stand with you, night after night. battle after battle, until peace becomes permanent. If you believe God has fought for you tonight, type Amen in the comments. Let this be your declaration of faith, a sign of agreement, a mark of trust. Your voice matters. Your faith is seen. Now rest. Let your breathing slow. Let your body relax. Let your heart be still. God is awake. God is guarding you, and this night belongs to Him.